Welcome to the high school tambourine auxiliary etude. You heard Marshall's performance where he achieved a lot of contrast, not only in volume, but in terms of texture. In this particular etude, we explore a variety of fingers being added to the instrument, knuckles, fist, shake roll, finger roll, etc. So there's a lot of things that we're going to dive into today. The first thing that I'd like to really establish is if we have the ability in your school budget to try and play this etude on a headed tambourine. So we have several examples here in front of us. We have the good, reliable church/rock band tambourine, which serves a wonderful purpose for a limited amount of things. So jingles are typically made of a little bit less artistic materials and more made for durability. And so obviously they're good for backbeats, and they're good for shaking 16th notes in a rhythm, that kind of thing. Maybe even a shake roll or two. But in terms of a classical application, certainly for the depth of technique that you're going to be asked to play in this etude, we recommend getting the highest quality headed tambourine as possible. We have several here. We have a Cosmic Percussion, we have a Grover, we have a Black Swamp tambourine. Whatever you can afford for the quality of your students' experience in band and the etudes. So the first thing that Marshall is going to demonstrate is the opening phrase here. We have all fingers into knuckles. So we have piano di mezzo forte and then sforzando right away on beat 2. So you can see where he's placing his fingers out to the side. Now we can use one finger, we can use two fingers, we can use all of them. It depends on the weight and the volume that he's after. So let's watch him play that pickup into the knuckle strike there. So you can hear beat 2 has a very separate quality than the crescendo that leads up to it. So we're going to use the full hand and not knuckles or not fists. We're just going to use all of what I call puppet technique and play a strong note there in the center for us, Marshall. So you can hear it's a little rounder. It's still full, but it doesn't have a pop that knuckles bring to it like this. Round, pop. You try the difference on your tambourine? So you can hear that when you have a sforzando and you want that color to pop contextually, that's the way to go. So we have that right off the bat, and then we have some subtlety here in the second or the first full bar rather. We have some thumb or finger rolls. So if you've never attempted a thumb roll or a finger roll, there's a really important way to start. Generally speaking, you have the option of putting beeswax or rosin on the very rim of your tambourine. When you do that, you're going to induce friction by either your thumb around or perhaps a finger. And so we're going to watch Marshall play. Let's take the pickup there, Marshall. 1, 2, 3, and 5 there, piano to mezzo piano. And typically what you choose to do in terms of a shake roll versus a thumb roll depends on the volume and the subtlety of the moment. Since this is piano to mezzo piano, I specifically said thumb or finger roll. So let's hear Marshall play that phrase. Do you hear how it's consistent and it leads to the downbeat? That's great, Marshall. Could you do that and then add on the very last line 1? So you hear the consistency of the finger roll all the way to 2 fingers, which gives them a more delicate sound all the way down. So one thing that we'll just mention very quickly, in addition to using 1 finger, 2 fingers, 3 fingers, all the fingers, of course that makes a difference in terms of mass and heaviness with your dynamic, but also listen to the difference, and we have 2 tambourines to show you. It can be heard on either. When you play, let's say 2 fingers at the edge, if I do not have my forearm touching, I'm going to get the entire experience of the overtone series. So I hear the shell vibrate, I hear the jingles vibrate. All of that is good, but if there's still too much presence, all I do is keep the same 2 fingers, but I gently lay my forearm on top. Then I get mostly jingle sound. Let's hear the difference on Marshall's tambourine. Fantastic. So you hear how clear and dry that articulation is. Now there is one last thing that Marshall and I are doing that we have not talked about yet. When you go to play tambourine, I recommend you start by holding the tambourine with your non-dominant hand. We are both right-handed, so we're going to show you the mounting point. Most professional tambourines with a head have a mounting point with a hole in it where you can put it on some sort of cymbal stand. That's where you put your non-dominant hand, place your fingers underneath. The thumb is only for support. I recommend trying to leave it away from the top head so you don't accidentally mute it when you don't mean to. Put it on the side or just on the top so it doesn't affect the resonance. Once your non-dominant hand is set up, there are a couple different angles for us to consider. If we go perfectly straight up and down 90 degrees and we strike it, you're going to get some pretty obvious jingle residue. So the note speaks, then you hear a little bit of extra noise, a little bit of extra note value that we don't intend to. Similarly, when we go perfectly flat, like a lot of folks think, okay, it's flat, it's going to be drier, and I go to play, there's still, in this case, it might even be worse. So they're trying to settle and using gravity on the outsides of the jingle. So what I would recommend when you're first trying to get great sounds out of the tambourine, non-dominant hand, find the spot to hold it. Dominant hand, let's say 2 fingers. I call this puppet technique. You put your thumb together with your fingers, and again, it could be 1 or 2 or 3. And then what you're going to do is figure out where the angle is, where gravity pulls the jingles most quickly. So I'll show you, I'll find the sweet spot on this tambourine, then Marshall will find it on his. So I'll start perfectly flat. Lots of jingle residue. Quite a bit better. A little better. I think I went too far. Somewhere around there. It's a very slight angle, maybe 8%, 10%, that kind of thing. Let's hear where the sweet spot is on this Black Swamp tambourine. Wow. So similar angle, maybe that particular tambourine has a little bit more of an angle than mine. So that's why your ear, as in most things in musicianship, require your ear to really make the final call. Great. And so we have now gone all the way down to pianissimo, and now we go to the second line with these triplets here. We go back to all fingers, and then here on the quarter note triplet there on beat 3, we go knuckles to fingers. So you'll see Marshall's transition from knuckles here, and then as he gets softer, he's going to manipulate less and less of his hand, so he gets a lighter and lighter sound. Could you do that in slow motion real quickly for us? Woo. You hear how soft that last note was? Coming off of a knuckle start. That's hard to do. Great job, Marshall. And then we have a whole quarter rest and then a shake roll with fist articulation. If you ever see tambourine music and it starts with an articulation, instead of starting a shake roll by itself like that, the very nature of a shake roll is inarticulate. So I recommend almost always to start with some sort of articulation. If there's no articulation, you can start it by pushing down like that. That's a pretty good start to a shake roll. In this case, there's an accent, so we're going to start it as such. So could you take us through that bar, Marshall? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop. Now, did you see what he did there? As he got softer, he brought it in, and he manipulated the angle so he set up for success on 2 to 3. And then on 2 to 3, just 2 fingers. And if you can, maybe even let your forearm touch. Can you try that in context? 2, 3, 4, 5, release. Great job. So lots of challenges in here, but again, I want all of us percussionists to think as if the ear drives all of our final decisions. And then, as percussionists, we are problem solvers more than anything else. How can I get the desired sound that the music calls for? Is it playing with less fingers? Is it muting? Is it angles? What can I do to bring the music to life? Most importantly, stay relaxed, have fun, and watch Marshall's performance video. Great job.